Hey, hi, For Honorarians. It's me, Eric Pope, community developer on For Honor, your host of the Warrior's Den. Oh, you did it, Max. You switched them. That looks much better. Good job. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're great. Sorry if I sound throaty. I'm still sick, but I wanted to be here for you, and to make Steph sick when he gets on the couch later. Thanks. Just kidding. I don't think I'm contagious anymore. Got my OJ. Thanks to my man Ken. Give a shout out to Ken. You don't know him, but he's great. He's looking out for you by making me drink orange juice. So, as I mentioned, Stefan Jawinski will be on the show shortly. We going to talk about Fight. His team is the Fight team, as we call it internally. They do things such as balance, such as tweaks, such as what we've called reworks in the past, what you have called varying things that might not be reworks. Steph will be here to give you an update on what the team's looking at lately and give you a little more insight and answer some questions that you have asked over the last week. So that will be soon. Let me get through the news. You know we do news at the top of the show, so let's do it. Earlier this week, PC friends, we released a patch, a hot fix, because there was an issue where people get a black screen if they were, I'll just read it because I'm not at my best. Fixed an issue that caused users to remain stuck on a black screen when starting the title, that means the game, while using less than 4 CPU cores or threads. So technically playing For Honor with less than 4 CPU cores is below the min spec, but we fixed it anyway because we want you to be able to play if you can, and now hopefully you can. Thank you. Let's do a roundup of the tournaments happening in the community this weekend. There's a couple newcomers in the mix there that I haven't spotlighted before. I will probably butcher the names, but tomorrow, Nick's JWM's Rumble in the Rough. Sounds dirty. It's a PC 1v1 tournament. It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Pacific, not Eastern. That's 3 hours earlier than our time zone. There's a $95, couldn't bump it up to 100. There's a 95 Canadian dollars prize for that one. So that's a Canadian tournament. Big ups to Canada. Also, this Saturday, we've got a Russian tournament. And the description was in Russian, so I can't describe it to you. But the name is LS Tournament 2v2 PC. Saturday at 6 p.m. Moscow time. What time is it? It's Moscow time. Enjoy that. I don't know about any prizing, but it's a 2v2 on PC, 6 p.m. Moscow time. All right, our good friends over at For Honor Arena have 2 juicy tournaments this weekend. First off on PS4, and I think we actually have an image. Yeah, look at that. Photoshop. PS4, 4v4 series. It's Dominion specifically, if you're wondering. So that is on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There is a $100 US dollars, American dollars prize. That same day, there's a PC 4v4 series, also Dominion. That one is an hour later at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. $100 US American dollar prize. I believe there's also an additional prize that I just heard about that Midian Kai has done some custom art, which the winners get. I haven't seen the art, but I'm sure it's awesome because Midian Kai rules. I have one of his shirts. So check that out. And For Honor Esports, still on that grind. They have 3 tournaments this weekend. Sorry, no images because they didn't update their images. You got to get on the ball with that, guys. If you update your images, then I can show them. So they've got the PC 1v1 Open Cup Europe, number 14. That's Saturday at 7 p.m. Central European Time. They have the For Honor PC 1v1 Turkey Amateur. I guess last week's was a success because they're doing it again. Sunday at 6 p.m. Central European Time. And the For Honor 1v1 PC Turkey Pro, Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Eastern Time. So all of these can be found on battlefy.com. Just search for Honor and you can join up. Get into it. For Honor's a fun game. Okay, news. We've got an event playlist. New game mode event. It is Dance of Death. Everybody's favorite brawl variation, Dance of Death, has returned. And it is from now? It's from the 15th to the 22nd. 21st on that image. Okay, I'll believe the image instead of what my notes say. So get in there and enjoy it. And to accompany that, we have a special Slayer Challenge event order from the 16th to the 20th. Be the faction with the most takedowns performed in Dance of Death. And the rewards are this. First place faction, everyone gets 2,500 steel. Second place faction, everybody gets 1,500 steel. Third place, everybody gets 1,000 steel. So get into it. We've got a sale of the week, as we do this week on sale. It's Mythic Outfits. The Solaris, Dawn Sky, and Zodiac Warrior. That's a typo on the image. The Zodia Warrior. They're now 10,000 steel instead of 15,000. You have until the 22nd to get them at that great rate. And content of the week is something that some of you actually caught. It was leaked in our last patch notes. It is a rock, paper, scissors emote. It's super fun. It is randomized. You'll have a lot of fun with your friends doing the classic PvP game of rock, paper, scissors. 7,000 steel. Max will show you a video, and then we'll be back with Stefan Jawinski with the stuff you actually want to hear about. So apparently the thing with Goldschlager is that the gold cuts your throat, and as you drink it, it gets you drunk faster. That's the old urban legend I was told. We're just saying how the end screen of For Honor with all the gold sparkles looks like Goldschlager.
Should you be drinking while you're sick?
I probably should not.
Yeah, okay.
Steph, how are you doing?
I'm excellent.
It's been a while.
I guess.
that old classic Stained song, it's been a while.
Yes, everyone's favorite band.
No one's favorite band. Stained is terrible. Steph, how are you? We have launched Marching Fire.
Yes, that was exciting.
Had a lot of work on your plate, as always. Congrats to the team. And we wanted to bring you back. We know balance, quote unquote. I say that because balance actually means a lot more than simply balance. Balance is a huge topic in the community at all times, more so lately than usual, I think, because we haven't actually been talking, we haven't had much of a dialogue about it in recent weeks. That's sort of a function of let's ship Marching Fire, let's get all that out there, and then doing bug fixes after Marching Fire.
Sure.
So we've all been kind of running.
There's definitely been a focus on content over the past period, and really the community wants to talk about balance. We want to refocus on balance.
Yep.
So
that's why you're here.
We're starting today with this conversation.
Yeah, so that's sort of the hope, is that I said in my Reddit post, we're not going to cure your balance complaints in a single show on the Warriors Den.
For sure.
But we do want to be a lot more open and have a lot more of that dialogue. And the show is obviously the great place for it, as long as you stay alive. I might be dead next week, but you don't need me, you just need him. So this is a good start for us to give you a little more transparency on what they're doing and what's to come and all that. And to answer your questions also. We'll be doing that after a little bit. First off, I wanted to give some shout outs and thanks to the community. Last week on the show, I said, hey, please help us out, compile some feedback for us to pour over, and the team has indeed been pouring over, and we've gotten a lot of it.
There have been a couple threads, I've seen those.
A couple threads. And as many people pointed out, it's well, that's kind of dumb. We've been giving this feedback all year. True. It's true. But you know what? It worked. Everyone on the team has been reading that feedback that you all compiled. I want to give a shout out to a few specific folks that did the compiling. They didn't. It's not their feedback specifically, but they did that extra gathering work. So Raven from For Honor Arena with that shared Google Doc, he collaborated on with a bunch of our top players, a bunch of our content creators. Super cool. Vidal the King on Amino. Shout out to the Amino community. We don't give them enough love, but they are a very cool part of our community. Check them out someday. Dramos, who kind of on Reddit summarized a bunch of the previous discussions in a single comment. The guy on the competitive sub trying to blackmail me, and many more. I can't remember his name, and he said terrible things about me, but it was still a good post.
Oh, I know why you can't remember his name. Yes.
So, again, just wanted to put some thanks out there. So, before we get into the specific topics, I did want to mention, so we just talked about we shipped Marching Fire. Not only did that bring 4 complete new characters with it, which is one of the things your team does, and is a ton of work.
Super fun though.
Yes, the Wulin, hope you're enjoying them. But there was big feats changes, there were Aramusha changes.
Yeah, I mean, like, we mostly nerfed feats. Aramusha got a, let's be less harsh to the, let's say, the new and inexperienced players.
Console players.
With hopefully a small compensation at the top level with the feints. There was a dodge roll nerf.
That's right.
That's true.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Cool. That's in the past.
Yes, that is in the
That's
past.
future.
Just wanted to, we didn't actually get a chance to talk about that on the show when we planned to, so I wanted to give that a shout out. Okay, so what are we doing? What is your team up to?
So how do we want to start this discussion, basically?
Great. The entire ComDev team's watching. Hello, guys. I am at my worst right now. Glad that you're watching this episode.
Great. It's going to be fun when we go out the door afterwards, right?
Yep.
We're going to be guillotines. But,
So
okay.
sorry, yes.
Basically, what we want to start talking about is, like, what are the biggest problems that we see in the 2019 fight improvement topics that we want to try to address. Basically, we'll kind of give you what are the top, hit you with a little bit of like what is the problem as we see it. This is the kind of stuff that we're working towards solutions on, and it's a good time for you to get involved in the conversation, really.
Absolutely, and I think part of the reason we were kind of pushing for this is actually a lot of the stuff you guys are working on is generally in line with a lot of the things people are complaining about. Then we don't do a good enough job of connecting those dots, I think.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's really a large perceived discrepancy between, maybe what the devs are saying or thinking versus what is different aspects of the community saying and thinking. A lot of times this gulf is maybe just because we're not acknowledging stuff that we are or have started to work on or have in progress or whatever. And Eric has definitely pointed out, hey, there's no reason for that. Maybe we could actually try to be a bit more transparent on that on that front.
So that's the hope with today, and going forward we can do more of that, and we have a lot of cool things we could do.
Exactly. So step one, I think we all agree, is let's hit you guys with the top 3 problems.
Yep.
We'll talk about them a little bit. We'll talk about heroes a little bit. Same kind of idea of like top-ish ones. And then we'll go into QA, and then we'll kind of keep that ball rolling over time, really. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, so top 3 from a fight system improvements perspective. What are the top 3 problems? For me, they are reaction reduction, revenge when outnumbered, or when not outnumbered, and targeting problems. Does that make sense? So what are these 3 things? Reaction reduction, basically one of the biggest problems that I think we have at the competitive level in For Honor, you mentioned a bunch of tournaments and stuff. The wall that we're starting to hit on the offense side is that certain attacks are just not quite doing what we want them to do. This includes light openers. They're called openers. They don't often open people up too well at the highest level. Certain mix-ups and so on. Is everything easily reactable? Is everything super telegraphed? This is really where we're seeing the biggest problem. And I think it's the same thing when you look at someone like Conqueror, Shield Dash, Gladiator Zone. Berserker, Second Light, or Fainted Light. Why are these so good? Is it because they're obsoleting the rest of the kit that would be okay otherwise? My belief is that the answer is no. They lean on this stuff because it works, and 500 light openers, 500 chain lights are not getting it done. We need our delayed lights. We need stuff like that. We need the 400 lights to get in there and do damage.
Gotcha. So yeah, so improving offense is kind of a big mega topic for you, right?
I agree, and it's a global problem. When you look at stuff like, why doesn't Orochi get it done? Orochi's got 400 lights, for example. Yeah, but the 500 light is not going to work. We've played. I mean, like we've had silly little bot experiments. Example where I made Pope sit down and play. Yeah. Pope is blocking 100% or near 100% of 500 MS lights from the Orochi against the bot. Yeah, there's no network delay. Yeah, he's not delaying his lights. Blah blah blah. But if Pope can win, then you can win, right? So
I should be the bottom of everybody's skill curve.
Maybe we'll bring that graph out one day because I like that graph. It's that'll be fun.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would make more sense in the context of the graph.
Yeah, one day.
Because they're like, what? Pope can't block 500 lights.
He could do it
In
sometimes.
the context of this
When
test, I could.
When he drinks his juice, he can do it. But really, like that's the core of the problem, right? Like, if everyone's light openers worked, if feints were a little more believable, if mix-ups and so on were a little more successful, kind of across the board, then you'd see more variety in attacks. I think you'd see the people that SetMix has in the competitive tier list at B tier, which is not viable but not bad, would probably raise up into. Probably stay in B tier, but B tier would be redefined as,
Still
viable, but the
somewhat
bottom of the
viable.
list. Exactly. Could win if the player was drinking his juice or her juice. And that's really the goal. Because if you look at a lot of different characters, there's a lot that I think do have kits that can work, pieces that can work, but they're a little too slow, they're a little too reactable, they're a little too obvious in one way or another. And I think if globally we just took that little step up,
Cool.
Wouldn't fix every problem, but it would fix a whole bunch, I think.
Yeah. So you mentioned test. You're doing a lot of testing right now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this as 2019 fight improvement topics, so I just want to stress to everybody that this is not going to happen tomorrow. We're not here to talk about roadmap. We're not here to talk about dates or solutions even.
It's more to just give that transparency on what they are working on, what you can expect.
Exactly.
Yep. So revenge, I know, is a big one in the community, that specific bit.
Yes.
The 1v1 gain.
Yes, so right now in 4v4 modes, you can gain revenge when you're in 1v1 situation. You can gain revenge if you're 2 or 3 or even 4v1 outnumbering the opponent. That's a little weird that you have the numbers advantage and yet you get revenge for being ganked. That's odd, and really discourages a lot of attacks that are even kind of working right now. Like if you look at Conqueror's Shield Bash, if you're one-on-one, you probably don't want to do what you would do in a 1v1 competitive setting, which is a lot of shield bashes and a lot of guard breaks. Because in a 4v4 game mode, even one-on-one, even though you'll eventually whittle the opponent down and kill him or her, they're going to get revenge before you do that, right?
Yeah.
So that sucks for you, and it's a little odd in a 1v1.
Right.
So yes, basically the way we're starting to think about it is like, hey, revenge should be the I'm outnumbered tool rather than the I'm losing the fight tool. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yes, for sure.
But that's what we're thinking about.
Cool.
We will be playtesting that tomorrow on the floor.
Awesome.
So that's
I look
fun.
forward to
But
that.
Again, whole thing, I just want to stress 2019 fight improvement topics, not tomorrow answer.
Which I'll be completely honest, which is part of the reason we've struggled with communicating with you about what the fight team's working on, because it's always a game of setting everyone's expectations. if we say we're doing something, people will be like, awesome, you're doing it. Now, where is it? And that's the piece that's really hard to make folks understand how long our production processes are. But it's my belief that it's, if we can at least be open about what is being worked on, I think people will be happy with that information rather having none of it and expecting and kind of taking it like, oh, well, they don't care about us, they're not listening to us, because that's how it's perceived. So that's sort of why we're doing this.
I think so, yeah. I mean, like the fear on our team has been like, if we say it this week,
Right, it's
it's
expected
going to be,
next
where
week
is
or
it next
month,
week,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's why we're a little reluctant to this point to
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But really, we want to tear down that barrier a bit with you guys right now. So
Yeah, so tell us if that's working for you, because I believe it is. I'm sure you would rather have information than not information. So yeah, let us know. Group fight stuff. You were mentioning.
third problem, yes. Targeting.
Yeah.
If there are 3 opponents for you, you can easily choose your lock target of the closest 2, and you will never select the 3rd one, right? It kind of sucks, honestly. Like, I don't know what to say beyond that. We know this is a problem. We know it's very frustrating. It would be nice to be able to select the opponent you want. We're working on it at some level.
Yeah.
One day.
I think that was one of the big 3 topics on that Google Doc.
I saw it on at least 1 or 2 of the threads. So
It was definitely elsewhere too, but yeah.
But first, yeah, we know.
Cool. Okay, let's get into hero specifics.
Sure.
Everyone wants to know about the big boy.
Yes.
Shugo.
Always. Shugoki.
Are we just ignoring people on Shugoki and continuing to nerf them into the ground?
That's always been the strategy, right? No, not at all. We know Shugoki has a very strange playstyle right now, which is your opponent must guard break you to break the Shugoki armor. Then the opponent can play for 5 seconds, whatever it is. In the meantime, you're just trying to light him or her and stop them from guard breaking you. It's not the most exciting. It really breaks down the game to a super snail's pace. Shugoki can't throw attacks otherwise on his own because they're 600 plus. There's no expectation Demon Embrace will work. There's no expectation Heavy Finisher will work. You can do target swaps, unblockable heavies in group fights, great. But you need more than that.
Right.
For sure. Basically, Shugoki is the one that we're working on for hero improvements with the most speed and most confidence in where we are. Maybe we'll be able to show you that at some point.
Right.
But
we're expecting it to come in season 9.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we're allowed to announce today? We agreed on something.
Just friggin' said it.
Oh. All right, season 9, Shugoki improvements.
But yeah.
Is a term.
Yep.
It's going to be cool. The floor is actually telling me to nerf the crap out of
the current states that you have in test.
I disagree.
It's a good sign, I guess.
But it'll be fun when I leave this room.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get your own Demon's Embrace.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other one I get yelled at a lot, and the memes are aplenty, is Mr. Labro.
Poor Labro. Shugoki versus Lawbringer matches on live are not my most happy moment when I play those. So, or anyone else, I guess. Neither can open, neither can sustain. Lawbringers, what am I going to say it? I'm going to say it. Lawbringer can do the job when you are...
You're nervous when you say things like this?
When you are counterattacking. Best parry punish in the game right now, arguably at least. Ganking, very good. The flip is good. The impale is good. Bombs at the end of the game as a late game carry, Lawbringer can do that job. Can Lawbringer poke or attack or sustain? No, right? Any kind of opener? No, none of them work. What else is on? Shove on block. I can't believe I missed shove on block.
Right.
Another thing that totally breaks down the pace of our game. Like, it's already one of the more defensive combat games in existence. And when shove on block or hyper Shugoki armor get introduced, it's like, Orochi, forget it. You can't do your second light, your only ultra strong move, ultra strong, strongest move.
You're talking about 4v4 situation.
1v1 even, right? Like Orochi versus Lawbringer. Orochi does the heavy, let's say, or Storm Rush or something to try to get in. Lawbringer blocks it. Orochi wants to do the 400 light. It's not happening, so great. But then Lawbringer's not winning either because you can just roll it. So that's not...
I like the look in them.
But throwing bombs is awesome. Ganking is awesome.
Is fun.
You can get it done in 4v4s, so that's cool. And that's why I think we're to this position, because it's like successful in one mode, not successful in the other mode. And this is still better than, you know, certain other characters such as Shigoki that are not really getting it done in any mode. But at the same time, you got to be able to hit. You got to be able to hit.
Yeah, and there's kind of a bigger topic on that, where it's sometimes that's where I said at the top of the show, like, balance is not actually just balance when people are talking about balance. When we on the For Honor development team talk about balance, we're very much talking about the numbers, the data, and all that. On that side of things, Lawbringer, our data shows rather balanced. On the community side of things, holy shit, please do something about the Lawbringer.
Yeah, well,
and so what a lot of times, and I remember we saw this with Centurion way back when, maybe in the numbers looking pretty good, but clearly the players are telling us this is not, there's something missing here. This is not working. It's not fun to play as or play against. Do something. And that's sort of where we have to, like, look at both sides and be like, okay, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tough process there. I mean, you can see the disconnect last time we put up the state of balance, where it was like, this is what the data says at, you know, top 2.5%.
Yep.
This is what the tier list defined by tournament level players. This is what, you know, you listed off a whole bunch of tournaments at the start of the show. Watch them, please. Participate in them, please.
Yeah.
See how many.
See who is picked.
Yeah, I'm not going to list all the ones that you will not see in this tournament, but I mean, like, you're going to see Conk, you're going to see Berserker, you're going to see Shaman, Nobushi, Kensei, this kind of list of character. We know these guys are going to be there. We know there's another whole list of characters that may be there, depending on who plays and what teams are there and what mode, blah, blah, blah. And we know there's ones that are not going to be there. We're not seeing this stuff. In Season 5, for example, all I did in my free time, I didn't do anything at all at home.
You had
I was
no
a
life.
bad family man. But I watched tournaments all the time. Every stream I could get, I was watching them. And I still don't think I caught even like a quarter of of the stuff that was happening in Season 5. And I logged who played, what hero was it, did they win or not, as much as I could, right? I remember sending it out at the end of Season 5 and saying, like, we were seeing at a rough level, at my totally unscientific and not representative sample size, that the tier list that then Scorebrand was doing, but the competitive players, which has turned into set mixes now, also on the competitive For Honor subreddit, is reasonably representative. And what they're saying is reasonably representative of what heroes are picked. It's hard to say on the winning side because it becomes a little more nebulous as to who's winning. But the characters that aren't being picked at all have 0 wins versus the ones that, you know, we all know are reasonably strong are, you know, showing up.
Yeah.
And that's the discrepancy between the data at either the 2.5% or the full player population or Platinum Plus. And I think that'll be really interesting. Maybe next week or the week after, we'll show state of balance. Maybe we'll contrast it with their tier list. And, you know, we can start to see where is the middle point.
Yeah, exactly. Right? These are all of kind of the data points we have to look at when you guys are doing your job, which is very interesting. Yeah, so yeah, next week we'll put out the State of Balance blog. We'll have stuff back to sort of talk about that and some stuff related to it. So there's a little sneak peek for next week. Cool.
Perfect. Did we get sidetracked from the point there?
We did. We rambled a bit, but that's fine.
Okay, so
people love rambling.
What we're on? We're in hero improvements, I guess.
Yes, I think, did we wrap up Lawbringer? So Lawbringer is clearly a hero that needs some love.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. We are all in agreement. Roman is not here. You can't make memes without him.
Don't get me in trouble. I'm gonna die when I leave this room. That's fun.
To be clear, Roman is totally on board with what we're saying right now. we would not be here if he wasn't. So yes, and then there's a slew of other characters that are very frequently brought up in the community that we know are problematic.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time touching on everyone right now. The only ones I just want to poke on right now are like, we know both on the, how do I want to say it? We touched Peacekeeper, we brought her down in damage, and she ended up a bit too low at our data level, less represented in tournaments, and we think we went a little bit too far. We wanted to wait until we saw what happened in patch 1.27 when we fixed the stance change bug on the reflex guard heroes. It brought her up a little bit, but I think we could go a little further. There's that. And then the last, I think, major one I want to touch on before we get too into the minutia. Warlord and Shinobi, out of lock sprint attacks. I don't want duels to be focused on out of lock sprint attacks.
Cool.
That's all I want to say right now.
That's all you're gonna say. Cool, man. Great. So as we said, these are the things the team is actively working on. This is not a thing where, this isn't a marketing thing of like, hey, here's a tease, now enjoy it next week. So as much as we would all love that, we're in reality of production here. But we did want to give you that peek. Want to get into some Q&A?
Sure.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Cool. Let's get into Q&A. Max loves his transition, so he has prepared a transition for us. Let's do it. A bunch of chuckleheads behind the cameras. So we gathered, the community team gathered a bunch of your questions and comments throughout the last week, and I printed them on parchment paper like an old man. And Steph has generously said he would answer these. So let's just get into it. I'll try to give names where we have them. A few of them we don't have names for some reason. They're kind of more general, meaning like everyone's been asking these. So before we get into more specific stuff, let's start with bots, because bot leveling has been a big topic recently. Level 2 is too easy. Level 3 is really hard for others, and I think Arcade has really shined a light on that.
The number one question, right?
Yeah. So what you got to say about bots?
Sure. Bots level 3 are too hard for most people. Bots level 2 are too easy for most people. Mostly this has been okay since we launched the game. Arcade, people are losing at more than we'd like. So basically, what do we want to do? We want to reduce this in some way to make it a little easier, let you win Arcade a little more. The rough amount of time being played is something that I think people are happy with right now. Is my loose understanding of this.
You're not the bot man, to be clear.
I'm not the
You're
bot
not the
man,
bot
but
man, and you're not the
bot
arcade man, but you are still the man.
I'm a man. Supposedly, at least. So, anyway, what? You want to win more
Confidence is
often?
astounding me.
You want to win more at Arcade. That makes sense. You also don't want to be sad that someone on your team left and they got replaced with a really crappy level 3 bot. You want them to be at least okay at that. This is what we're trying to look at.
Yeah, so last patch that we did a few weeks ago, we did shave down the damage bots were doing.
Yes, in Arcade.
In Arcade specifically, because that's the thing is that Arcade is really, I think, the big focus point for bots right now. In our next patch, we will also be tuning down the perfectness of our bots, if that's not a word. You know, they like block everything, they parry everything. We're going to tune that down.
That's my
Not going to be
understanding.
so
In
perfect.
arcade.
In arcade, yeah,
In
exactly.
arcade, yes.
So next patch, we'll update you when that's ready to go out, but that's a thing that's being planned. So we have a lot of folks over here that are focusing on arcade and on bots. So yeah, cool. Is that all you want to say about bots?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I didn't know if you had more
Nope.
banked.
Nope.
One of the great Reddit users, XTMT, posts a lot. I see the name a lot. They're usually quite constructive. Posted a few very poignant and good questions that were uploaded a lot, so we figured we'd ask them. So number one, why can't Shugoki feint his unblockable heavy? It would add a lot of pressure against out of stamina opponents. Now it's just an easy parry for everyone as they can wait for it to go past the point of feinting or just block. Same problem with Centurion's heavy unblockable.
100% agree. When we play with the current Shugoki improvement, basically it has feintable period in the unblockable phase. Because yes, it is super easy to parry something that can't be feinted, and has a different indicator.
Do you also agree that's an issue on Centurion?
I also do agree that it's an issue on Centurion.
Very agreeable.
But basically, I want to see if it works properly for Shugoki. And then if so, perhaps.
Cool.
And if not, then something else.
Cool. Gladiator's zone attack is currently one of the most safest attacks in the game and is the main reason why he's competitively viable. Without it, he would be very weak. But with it, turn the page, he feels very cheap, as it cannot be punished, even if it was avoided correctly. How do you plan to fix this without making him particularly weak?
Yeah, it's definitely a question mark right now. Zone attack is good at 600 ms, feintable, blah, blah, blah. Toe stab is also very good in 4v4 for a similar reason, I guess. Like, fast-ish, sets up the gank from the other player reasonably well. The rest of the kit, the lights are 5 and 600, if I'm offhand. I should have checked, but I didn't check. But not gonna like you don't. I've never seen someone play 4 lights in a row. I mean, only during development do I remember what they look like. At this point.
You should play me more often.
Perfect. See, but he can still block, so it's like we're screwed. But yeah, I mean, like really, this is what we're talking about with like one of the top 3 priorities that we want to address in the 2019 phase is like reducing reaction windows, which would improve stuff like the 500 ms light opener. Does it have to be a little faster? Do the 600 lights have to be faster? Yes, of course. And then does it make that the skewer and stuff like this, your heavies, a little more viable in that it's harder to tell past where like the feint window for some of these things is? Cool. I think would help Glide.
I think that's an interesting thing, an interesting insight into how your team works too, because a lot of the times in the community, the requests or the complaints or the feedback will be specifically on what to do for this character, when a lot of the times you guys are thinking of kind of system-wide changes that would still address that, but also address bigger problems, and that's kind of what I like about the whole like focusing on improving offense as a meta topic, rather than just like let's zone in on the Gladiator and fix this one thing.
Exactly, because I think that's the important thing, because like right now, across the board, like you never say to someone, hey, the best answer is like do your 500 ms light. Like I know there's a bunch of people who talk about light spam, but please watch those tournaments. If you believe light spam is amazing and unstoppable and whoever attacks first is going to win, please enter one of these tournaments and win it and then tell me I'm wrong. But you're not going to see light spam at that level. Like it's just not going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't work. If it worked, you'd see it all the time. And basically, hey, we've got 500 ms lights on basically every single character in the game as the opener. So they've got to hit a little more often than they do now. They can hit sometimes, but they need to hit a little more frequently. So it can be treated as, some kind of opener. That's where we're at. That'll help Glad. That'll help everybody else. Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, we know that touches on a whole huge topic where it's kind of our community, our player base is in a bunch of different camps, right? Like we've got competitive players who want that competitive edge. There are more casual players like my trash self. There are console players, there are PC players. So there's a lot of different axes that people have things on. So like, while I think that is the answer that needs to be given on light spam. At the same time, it's a very frequent topic that we're talking about. How do we make that experience better for players, especially like the console players who say it's a really big issue? So I just wanted to clarify, like I think it's right that that's your stance and the team's stance, but also it doesn't mean that we're ignoring the people that say that. It's just
For sure, like the major mindset shift that I think we need to do, from my perspective at least, is right now in the game, when you start to play, you're a day one player or you're a first day player, you're like, hey, this game is cool. I'm throwing Raider heavies and it's friggin' awesome, right? And then eventually you learn, hey, maybe you shouldn't throw so many like light chains of Raider or the full 3-hit unfainted, never faint Raider chain like stops to work. The fun thing that you do that causes damage to your opponent that lets you win the game doesn't work past a certain level. Now you have to work ultra hard, not as much with Raider with a light, but like somebody else, to get the simplest amount of damage in. And what if it shifted a little bit in that the stuff you learned at the beginning, throw attacks, you figure out which ones are the good ones and use those more frequently than the other ones. And that continued to work in some respects all the way to competitive. And you can see Orochis in these tournament finals and so on. I mean, that's a dream, right? Like, otherwise it's very weird to say like, hey, new players, it's very nice that you're learning to attack, but guess what? Actually, you should be learning to never attack. So,
right.
Or very seldomly attack, at least, depending on what character and blah, blah, blah. And it's getting better over time. I mean, like you look at season 1, right? Like, and you look at season 5 and you look at now season 8, there are more and more people who can do more and more attacks. It's still not some kind of crazy offense fest at the top level. And even at the intermediate level, when it's like, well, I can't block their 500 lights. It's like, okay, cool, but your opponent also can't block your 500 lights. So just press the light button, you'll be fine. You will win that way. And maybe you have to just block once or make one good read and you win the whole game instead of, trying to defend 100% of things. Because that didn't work in season 1 when we had 600 and 700. Like Kensei had 700 lights. Like,
yeah,
people complained then.
Yep.
So people complain at 5 and
yeah,
shrug.
Shrug. Moving on.
Next question.
Characters such as Shinobi and Warlord are particularly high on the competitive tier list. We did already kind of talk about this because of their strong unlock charge ability. However, this creates an unlock charge meta that's really unfun for the opponent, largely ignores a lot of the elements in the art of battle system. What are your thoughts? Again, we kind of already answered this. What are your thoughts on some moves like these, completely negating the other mechanics of the game? Season 1 Shigoki comes to mind.
For sure. It's unlock attacks are not what we want to see duels defined by. If you run up and sprint attack and you surprise someone, okay, cool, right, great. But then we don't want you to do it again, and then again, and then again. That's not going to work. It looks awful. It's not super fun, and I don't know. It's not much more to say about that. Should it be good enough to use as a ganking tool in 4v4? Yeah, for sure, right? Like that's obviously what like Raiders charge is built for, Warlords charge is for. So these have to be reduced in 1v1 success. Yeah, will Warlord maybe need a buff to compensate? Yeah, will Shinobi be a little more difficult because Shinobi's already overtuned in damage? Yeah, it's going to be difficult to figure that out. I'd rather knock those moves out of 1v1 viability even if we don't have a compensation plan ready to go at the time that we are ready to do that. That's where I'm at on those.
Cool. Cool. Next question. We answered this as well. Knight Ramey, are we going to get a refocus on hero balance anytime soon?
Well, I mean, sorry, are we going to get a focus on hero balance anytime soon? Yeah, so I mean, like we talked about, we were doing Marching Fire, we were more content focused, new heroes, all that kind of stuff. Now we're going into a phase where we're trying to talk about, you know, what are the 2019 fight topics, hero topics, this kind of stuff, and focus a bit more on this.
Yep. Knight Ramey also asks, has the feat system ever been considered to undergo big changes? And that's, again, not exactly your world. But,
well, it is.
sort of
We talked about this a lot. We go back and forth on this a lot. There's really no concrete plan to do any overhaul or anything crazy like this. What I like is, like, there's some cool stuff with, like, the Wulin and so on, where they're a little more cohesive as to their feel of what they want to do.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, certain other characters, like Bombbringer, right? It's like, yeah, it's a lot of bombs, right? But, like, at least you go, hey, I'm the guy who brings bombs. That's cool.
Hey, I'm the guy who brings bombs. All right. We already answered this as well. The real Dirty Dan, when will we get the State of Balance blogs, or he wrote logs, for Season 7? So next week is what we're looking at. I don't have the exact date. I'm going to make some final tweaks to the...
You made a date promise?
Did I?
You said next week.
Well, yeah, next week. That I can... this is under my control. I can promise dates on that. Next week for that blog, and then Steph will be back on the show next week, again, unless he has died between now and then. I don't know. Hey.
You don't know?
Shit's wild, man.
Sounds like plotting over here.
Cool. The real Dirty Dan also asks, what's the status on rebalance for Valk and PK? Hey, that's a good question. Well, we already talked about PK, but Valk, the dev said they would be looking at those after checking the DATA data.
I mean, maybe this is an interesting one to talk about next week. Then, if we're gonna show the state of balance versus the tier list and so on. Basically, what I can say today is, like, you see in the data of Season 7, she's overperforming.
Valk, you're talking about, not
Valkyrie, sorry, yes, is overperforming data-wise. Tier lists, tournament level, so far not. I guess it'll be another one where we meet in the middle, maybe, at some point.
Got it.
And then PK, we talked about, underperforming, so
right.
I don't see why couldn't do damage buff or something.
Yeah, let's bring her up. Roland Vermund, do you have plans on tweaking more frequently? He talks about Aramusha. I think that's the gist of the question.
So where we are right now, like, we're hesitant to try to bring up a very fast nerf or buff schedule, as you're talking about, like, changes every 2 weeks or whatever. We don't want to see a ping-ponging of heroes. There are some that we've gone through in, like, I want to say Season 3 and 5 and so on, or just the lead up to 5, where you'd really see a hero go, like, big nerf, big buff, big nerf, on the same move every patch, right, back to back. And it's like, is this move good? Is this move bad? Is this good move? I haven't adapted yet. We don't really know for sure, like, anybody, if it is good or bad or whatever. And it's just in flux. And then it's not you determining if the move is good or not, or useful or not, or viable or not. It's, we put something out there, we didn't like one snap decision, and then we flip it back the other way, we flip it. It's just not good for anybody, I think. I think there needs to be an expectancy on the player side that, like, if I invest my time into learning a certain thing, it will be more or less in this path. And especially once we do make a change, that we have some expectation that, like, we believe it's correct, or at least better. We believe we're moving in the right path. We can still be wrong, and we can still go the other way, for sure. But I don't want to be like certain other games where it's like, this week it's like this week it's like this week it's like this, and I'm like, okay, well, this week it was fun, this week everything sucks. And
yeah, and one thing I've talked about on my side of things is, I think some of that, I know why they're asking that, and I think some of it can be mitigated by giving what we're doing right now, and doing that more frequently, giving better clarity on what is coming, when to expect things. Because the way I always frame it is, because we haven't necessarily been killing it on that front, every patch we release could be the patch that has the one fix that you, Johnny For Honor Man, has wanted for 13 months in this game, and it could be that one, and it's not, and then you get disappointed, and it's this like cycle. And I think that can really be helped by much more open communication.
Yeah, so I mean, today let's get the ball rolling is the plan, in reopening the dialogue, and let's keep it going, obviously.
Right. Cool. Devil's Legacy. That's a great name. I would play that game. With the removal. Where are we here? With the removal of gear stats, is there any chance you could look over the OG and DLC cast, as some of the heroes are really suffering from loss of stamina and health? Have you considered buffing those things?
So we can keep an eye on if health, stamina cost, stamina damage, all this kind of stuff needs to be adjusted. I'm not currently convinced that we should do it as a result of the removal of gear stats. Reason is stuff like tournament play hasn't had gear stats on
From the beginning.
From the beginning, exactly. So really, we at least had that test bed that we could have some confidence that we're like, maybe some of these things are in more or less the right ballpark. Yeah, I know there have been a lot of people talking about increase the damage, or increase the HP pool, or decrease the damage of lights, for example. Right now, I'm not feeling that I want to extend the length of a fight longer than it currently is. Maybe at the point where we say, okay, actually we can improve openers in some way, then yes, maybe they don't need to do as much damage because they're more successful. We can find that balance for sure. But right now, yeah, I mean, like, with the removal of ultra fast revenge gain due to gear stats, with the very fast revive speed, this kind of thing, this is mostly what we're keeping the closest eye on, because I think they are most defining of the strange behavior that we didn't like in Dominions and stuff.
Okay.
And Breach.
Cool.
Well, up until Breach.
Tom likes Ardbeg. I don't know. Why was the Warden animation of... It's not just the Warden animation. Why was the animation of killing soldiers in the middle of the map removed in the newest updated Marching Fire?
Yeah, so with Marching Fire, when you fight minions, all heroes now use their basically same as their locked attacks, but unlocked. We're trying to unify combat. Pikemen die in multiple hits, so we can't use those.
The whole system was built around single hit kills, and they look cool, but it also is really slow.
Exactly. And the more we want to do something like where it's like, when you fight heroes, you work like this. When you are unlocked, you work like this. When you fight pikemen, you work like this. When you fight soldiers in Dominion, you work like this.
It's too much.
It's, I mean, for no benefit. I mean, either, right? Like, gameplay-wise, we're just sitting here talking about balance, right? So Shaman's got these, like, 38-second long weird light attacks that, like, knock the guy down, hit him once, jump up, do it again. Highlander's in the same boat. Basically, everybody, your best attack is to zone. If you're not doing zones in Dominion, basically for almost any hero, a few exceptions, you're probably doing it wrong, right? So why do you want to keep basically an appendix, honestly, of the gameplay system there, honestly? The more unified, the better off we'll be. That's where we're at.
It was a cool animation, though. I do agree.
Some of them were super cool.
Yeah.
Some of them are similar to executions or fight moves.
Hey, here's one we hear a lot. Hitokiri 0. Can we get a dedicated zone button?
So...
Is that your official answer?
If you can find me a button on the controller, that'd be really helpful. The real helpful answer for you, I think, is that, like, if we could have certain things, certain experiments work the way that we're hoping, then we can create some leniency again in the input window, which would then mean you don't have to go like bang to get your zone. You could go and you'll get it just fine. If you recall, in the early seasons, we did have 100 MS window where you could go click and it would totally work. So there's no reason we can't, if assuming our experiments work, create a smaller input window so it's not quite as like uncomfortable to like go, and you won't miss your inputs either.
Cool.
That's the idea, at least.
Okay. X Striker J. Oh, this is another very frequent one. Why has nothing been done, and you actually sort of answered this earlier, but why has nothing been done to conquer his shield bash? It's universally regarded as the most obnoxious move when fighting him, and it discourages Conqueror players from using anything else in his kit despite it being relatively solid. It's almost like how Peacekeeper was before her rework, where you could just abuse her zone attack.
So, from that perspective, I think it'd be super interesting if in some way I wish you could play a version where Conqueror didn't have shield bash, Berserker didn't have second light or faint light, Gladiator didn't have zone attack, and then you tell me what tier these characters are now, and I would expect somewhat lower, quite a bit lower. Really, the emphasis I think needs to be on, can we give the whole roster across the board a little more viability in a lot more little moves? And then yes, if at that point these are working and Shield Bash is still at its level of power or better, then yes, for sure, we nerf the top 4 moves in the game, right? No problem. But it needs to be that little bit of an up to take away.
Right.
Otherwise, we go too far back to the turtle meta, to the defensive meta, and we've been working, I think, slowly but successfully across this period. There are many more characters that are able to attack, many more that are placed in the viable tier list, and we have to keep going in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, if at some point we can take away some of these, totally fine, or reduce the potency of it. Let me
Right.
say.
Cool. Also from X Striker J, will Nusha deflect be fixed as it can be blocked and even punished?
So what we like about the Nusha deflect is, yes, it isn't guaranteed. The design is that the deflect puts you in a situation in which she will be frame advantaged. She can change the direction of her light, so it could be top, left, right, her choice. And you may or may not have some ability to do something about it depending on what your attack's recovery on block is. And what's really interesting in my mind about that is it becomes okay, she makes a read, now she makes a choice, now you make a choice, and it becomes read versus read kind of based gameplay for high risk and very high reward, right? 40 damage or whatever your presumably heavy or light or whatever damage would have been. I think that's really interesting. I think we could make cool situations like that. I get that you want it to be guaranteed, but I also don't think it's uninteresting to set up that scenario. And that's where I'm at.
Cool. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Wulin. Is this sort of the same question? Has Nusha's trap system been considered by the devs due to its inconsistency?
So I think we're in kind of the same boat where we're looking at as like the Conqueror situation, but from the other angle, where it's, yeah, her trap is 400 ms, right? You can delay it for up to however amount your networking difference is, which creates a semi-reactable to totally reactable situation. Basically, it's in the same boat as the other stuff. If we could make the feint believability a little more difficult, it would set up soft feint believability to be a little more difficult as well, which would help her in this situation, but I think also help everybody.
Cool. Are we aware of the bug with the Zhang Jun's attack animations not matching the indicators?
Yes, we have people working on this, and the hope is for whatever SAT3 would be.
Next patch.
More promises from Pope.
Well, I've been told it's in, so it better freaking be in. I didn't have it written down, but this is a frequent question that I can answer. The white skull, the breaking
White skull, yeah.
Team's actually been prototyping some different takes on that. We do know that is a big frustration for folks, the breaking skull.
You don't like this?
Yeah. So yeah, we have heard you. It is in process right now, I would say. So
Great.
that's that one. Cool. That is my list. My 6 pages of questions are over.
Good job. We made it.
Thank you, Stefan. And as we said, Steph will be back again next week. We'll talk more about the State of Balance blog post, some numbers, share with you there, and some other cool stuff.
Can we do more QA as well?
Absolutely. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions based on whatever we've said today.
I bet.
So, yes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And really appreciate you taking the time. I think it's not an easy job to have to come out and kind of take those direct questions from the community sometimes, because a lot of times they're in opposition to maybe the design intent on certain things, and that's a hard message to do. And I think if nothing else, it's going to lead to some good discussion that we'll obviously be seeing. But anyway, I really appreciate you doing it, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. I want people to appreciate that. Like, for a dev, it's not their job. Their job is to actually make the game. So for whenever we get folks like you on the stream doing stuff like this, I'm always super appreciative. I hope you guys are appreciative in the community as well.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, when you see 1,000 comment threads in a week, that's pretty sweet. So thank you very much. And yes, this is similar to sometimes what my job is like, with the amount of people who come to my desk and have
internally
similar questions.
It's true. We do internal tests on Fridays for fun.
Yes.
And for actual testing purposes, and you hear it.
And with similar forcefulness, yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Steph. And now we actually have a Dev Talk segment with Luke. So we will be right back with that. All right, so Luke is actually not in the building right now, but he is in this segment because this is pre-recorded. So now we're going to go to, this is a segment we do once in a while, where Luke talks to one of our devs, gives you a little look into their life, gives you a little more insight into what they do. And it's just another way to meet more of our devs that we can't just have on the couch all the time. So this week, it's with Pascal Mimo, who is the composer of the For Honor heavy metal music that you hear frequently on this show as the intro and all that. I don't know if it is currently, but we should bring that back if it isn't. Anyway, let's hear from Pascal and Luke.
So hello everyone, this week in Dev Talks, we are meeting one of the original member of the For Honor team. He's been here for over 5 years on the project. Pascal Mimo, 3D animator.
Hey, what's up, Luke?
Hello Pascal,
Yes.
how are you?
Good, very good actually.
So Pascal, over
Yeah.
5 years on For Honor. So before you worked on Sean White. Any other game that you worked on?
Oh, yeah, a lot. But since I'm here, I start with was a small game on the PSP, Rocky Balboa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the movie game. I started with that project. So my days was to watch a movie, the Rocky movie, you know, and just try to animate Apollo Creed and Drago.
Boring.
So how boring it was. That was a short project, only 5 or 6 months, but it was one of the best to start. I mean, was very good. And then I
No, but
switched.
imagine that you go back home and
Yeah.
what have you done today? I watched Rocky
Exactly.
and I tried to mimic the moves for the
I
game.
never get bored of it. It's just such a good movie, you know. But yeah, I start with that game, and then I switch up to many IP on Ubisoft, like Splinter Cell, Conviction. I did the Shaun White snowboarding, Shaun White skateboarding. I did all the climbing system. I did all the climbing system on AC3.
Okay.
Because they revamped everything from AC1 and AC2, so they needed to revamp everything. So I did a big job on that one, and then yeah, after AC3, they picked me on For Honor, and that's the point I start. It's been 5 years now.
Wow.
Exactly.
So as a 3D animator on a project, and the animation, everybody like praise the animation because they're really awesome. Which part of it like do you take care of? Are there certain things you specialize in?
You know, the way we're working is at the beginning we had only the Warden and the Orochi, and at that point there was the maximum was one animator per character.
Okay.
And I start with the Warden, try to figure out what we want to do with him, and we try to. We reshoot a lot of mocap for the Warden to nail only one character. Then we went on the Oni, but that was the whole name for the Orochi.
Yeah, it was the Orochi, yeah.
And then the more it goes, there was more character, and there was only one animator per character. For example, I did the Warlord, I did the Peacekeeper, mainly. I did everything on the character, like the attacks, the guard break.
Oh, that's good. So one thing that people don't know is that you're one of the, even if it's the first time you appear on the Warriors Den.
Yes,
You've
I'm
been
a shy guy.
You've been on many Warriors Den before
Yes, exactly.
because you're a musician.
Yes.
And the original soundtrack, no, don't hear yourself.
Yeah.
The original soundtrack of the Warriors Den, it's your creation.
Yes, it's my creation. Yes.
So
yes,
you made everything in the track?
Yes, I do everything. That's my biggest hobby, except the animation. I just started playing guitar when I was, now I'm 34, but I started pretty late, at 20 years old. And I was singing before doing guitar, but I started playing guitar, then I start recording tracks for myself, and then I start to share it on some site web. And then eventually I went from doing a little track there to a full album, and then a second album, and then I did this album called Honorable Warrior was thematic for Honor because I work on the game, and I wanted music that talk about that game. And since I have the project right here, I work a lot just to make sure that the music fits
So,
with the.
where can people find that, the Honorable Warrior?
Oh, okay. Publicity, yeah. Everywhere. My name is Berserk Kid, so it's BERSERKYD. And I'm everywhere. I'm on Spotify, Bandcamp, on YouTube. I got a lot of songs as well. iTunes, name it. I'm just sending those, but you can listen to them for free.
Go check.
It works.
What
I
he's been
think
doing.
if you're a gamer and if you like to Twitch, if you like to use free music, I give all those music. I don't care about money. It's just me give you my song and you use it the way you want and you share it and whatever. So
Go check it. It's super cool. So you've worked a lot. And have you worked in video games before Ubisoft, or it was your first?
no, it was my first
job.
First video game.
So you said, what did you do to get into animation? Any special school?
I was
Special
exactly.
school.
I
I don't like
was-
the way it sounds. What kind of education do you get to become
Yeah,
an
I
animator?
was very lucky. I was one of the first to get into a school called Campus Ubisoft. It was clearly a school that Ubisoft made to get employee after. So I was from the first year.
Okay.
So I'm not from Montreal at all. I'm from like 3 hours from here.
Where are you from?
Montmagny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quebec
Montmagny.
Near Quebec City.
No one knows that place except me, but anyway, that's a small town. So I went from that point to here just to study animation. At that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just a gamer since I'm a kid. Like I played Nintendo, Super NES, name it, PlayStation, and I was really a gamer. So I wanted to do that as a job, and I find that you know, that place that just form you as an animator if you want, level designer and modeling. Maybe that changed, I think. But I was very lucky to find that place and to pick the first.
And have you ever wanted to work in video games? Is that something you wanted to do since the big?
Yeah, since I'm a kid. I was like.
And is there one game that you like? Okay, this game is.
Oh,
is there one game that made you say, okay, I want to do that?
Ah, man, you know, it's just I'm an old school guy, so everything. I mean, when I was playing Mega Man, Castlevania, name it, all those games inside of me, I was like, that's the road I want to pick someday. And eventually, For Honor is pretty much the best so far project that I could imagine. So
cool. So you've been there for a long time. We mentioned it before, over 5 years. So people don't realize sometimes, like 5 years, it's more than to get a college degree.
High school, that's what I was saying.
It's high school.
Exactly.
The entire high school here in the Quebec system, at least, where it's 5 years of high school, it's how long you've been in the project. It's crazy.
Yes, I know.
So a lot of memories, I guess. Is there one?
Oh, memory.
Like, what's your favorite moment? Like, it can be anything. I don't care. Like, it's just
so many.
Yeah. Or share one that you.
Just the moment I arrived, I think, because I didn't know the project at all, and Kai contacted me, and then
Kai was the animation director.
Yeah, exact. And when he contacted me, I didn't know anything about the game, but there was a fresh new game, new IP. I was like, okay, I'm interesting, and I'm a fighting. I like fighting game as well. He told me it could be like a bit of a fighting game or whatever. So I was a Street Fighter gamer as well, so I'm like, okay, gonna check that. And when he showed me like the gameplay mechanic, like you block with the right stick, I was like, oh shit, so much potential right there. And then that was just the moment I was like, I'm gonna stick to that project as long as it lives. You know, just at that moment, I think that's the real moment for me. That was a life changer at that point. I was like, oh fuck, this project means something for me now.
Cool, very nice. It's interesting. The moment you arrive on a project is always an important one.
Because it was really the basic, was really stickman, just the gameplay mechanic, and I mean, that part I was like, oh, I was sold.
So one thing I need to ask you is, are you a knight, a Viking, or a samurai?
I mean, the choice is very clear for me. I'll say it like Jason Vandenberg will say it. I'm a Viking.
He's a Viking, another one. So many Vikings around.
Got the dark heart inside.
So before we let you go, Pascal, any one last thing you want to say to the people watching that you want to share, or
continue playing For Honor, because I still have a job and I can continue working on a project, so that's good for me. But except that, it's got so much potential. I think it will get bigger, it will get better, and it's just the beginning for us, I think. So please continue playing the game. I think it's a fresh game. At least we're trying to make something fresh, and I think that people that love it really understand why they love it. It's really just a new experience. So just continue playing the game and enjoy. I mean.
So Pascal, thank you very much for coming on Dev Talks.
Thanks to you.
Everyone, thank you very much for watching, and see you next week for another Dev Talks.
Hi. So we have a shorter community quarter this week because I knew it would be a longer show, and that's the truth. So let's jump into it. Thank you so much, Pascal Mimo. He's not the FU Pascal of the FU Pascal fame. That guy still deserves FUs. Pascal Mimo does not. It's spelled Momani. Next, you're killing my flow. So Community Corner is a thing we do every week. If you want your video featured, post it on Reddit. If it's good, we will pick it. All right. Starting with Zilla Jr. Kaiju King. 7-kill anti-gank with Shinobs.
You captured Zone C.
Excellent. Next up, Derek Guthrie, 75. Never stop fighting. It's true. Never give up. Believe in yourself.
Victory!
See, he didn't give up, and then he won. That could be you. This one made me laugh because I'm stupid. Blue River Blues, do the Highlander hustle. Maddie said, I don't get it. It's an old song. It's a disco song. Do the hustle. It's this thing. That's the hustle. I don't know. Zulu Viking always does great stuff. This one, I think, was maybe the top upvoted post of the week. It was very good. It tells a little story. It's called The Dark Knight Bashes.
Let's not stand on ceremony here. Mr. Wayne. Peace has cost you your strength. Victory has defeated you.
You fight like a younger man. There's nothing held back. It's admirable, but mistaken.
And you betrayed us, members of the League of Shadows.
I am the League of Shadows. I am here to fulfill Ra's al Ghul's destiny. Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me. Ah, yes. I was wondering what would break first. Your spirit? Oh, your buddy!
Perfect ending. Again, that's Zulu Viking. Super good stuff all the time, so check out their channel. All right, Butterator, another one of my personal faves because he does stuff right up my humor alley. Don't know. Can we erase that? This one's called This Is So Sad. You like if you something. If you cry every time. Weird. Good stuff. All right. From Mickey Pepsi. Most satisfying Labro anti-gank. That must have been very satisfying. It's like ASMR for Honor. Up next, 69 Bandit. Woo!
Tie game.
See, never give up again. The bleed got that Shugo. Tied it up. Cool. This is our last video. Told you it was a short one. MC Southside, how the Vikings should have been introduced.
A Viking is born who carries the spark of God.
The thing you don't get to see on the chat is in between each of these videos, everyone behind the camera explains like the memes or the references to me, because I'm an old man. So now I know that that's Smash Brothers. Thanks. All right, so that is the end of the show. I hope you have found it informative. Please give your props to Steph. Like I said, it is not an easy job to come out and kind of answer all those questions. I'm really glad he did. I'm sure plenty of them did not answer the questions you wanted or didn't address the thing you wanted, but we'll get there. So keep posting your questions and we'll get to them. So we are going to be now rating the good man Adanian. He had to explain how to say his name because I'm terrible at it. Adanian. He has streamed a metric buttload of For Honor lately. I have stats that tell me these things. So big ups to Adanian. Go give him some support, give him a follow, give him some love, give him a sub if you want. And we will be back next week. Thank you, everybody.
For Honor, baby.
Hell yeah!